Dr. G,
and Lisa.
And guess who this is? It's the Easter Bunny.
Frisky Biscuit Podcast.
We're here again, barely. Man, we're hanging on by our teeth. We really appreciate all of you watching and listening and being with us. We are Frisky Biscuit, the podcast that never seems like it's going to happen, and then we finally make it. And here we are. Welcome to our program today. It is Easter Sunday, and I think everybody probably found their eggs by now. Have you found your eggs?
Oh, I found my eggs, and all hats off to the spiritual nature of Easter, too.
No kidding. And the spiritual nature of Frisky Biscuits today is going to be all about motorcycles, and we are adding motorcycles to our list of, I suppose we'd call them road warriors, road warrior-esques, and these guys are people out there driving around with all of you. In fact, they're probably some of the better drivers because they have to dodge most of us. So we're going to bring on a very special guy that we are interviewing, Dr. Johnson. And I tell you what, this guy is probably one of the coolest dudes we've ever met. He's a Harley rider, but he's ridden, I tell you, I used to think I was a badass Harley rider. This guy could eat my lunch. So we're going to have him on here pretty soon. Lisa did a pretty cool interview with him, and it turned out really nice.
Mm-hmm. What an incredible guy. I mean, he has rode over 700,000 miles. I mean, maybe the truckers out there have competed with that. I doubt very many RVers have 700,000 miles. And what an incredible guy, just all around. I had no idea. I haven't ridden motorcycles that much myself, but they definitely are the road warriors. They're out there with everybody on the road.
You can't tell you haven't ridden them. Look at what you're wearing today. You got Harley Davidson all over you. You ought to see the boots she's wearing today.
Yes.
She's got these really cool leather boots all the way up to almost her knees. They got Harley on them. Very cool.
I love the Harley equipment. The designers that put this together, their T-shirts, their jackets, their boots, whether you're a Harley rider or not, they're cool.
By the way, we want to give a shout out also. By the way, we're not being sponsored by Harley Davidson. However, yes. Yes. I want to say thank you to our local Harley dealer here in Twin Falls, Idaho, Snake Harley Davidson. They also have an operation down in Elko, Nevada, and they were so kind to introduce us to Doc Johnson that's going to be on here in a few minutes. And we are broadcasting this, of course, on all the podcast outlets around, but also we have a YouTube channel. And if you like to tune into YouTube and watch our podcast there, you'll see the interview with Lisa and some of the details of this amazing house he's got.
Oh, he created his house. He built his house, the entire upstairs, just for his Harley collection. And he went to every state in the United States to collect a couple of T-shirts. So he has all his T-shirts of everywhere he's been. He's been to several continents. And just the emblems in the shower, in the flooring. I mean, just an incredible job. My hat's off to you. You did a great job. In fact, it fell on the floor. I was going to show you our hat, but
go ahead and grab it.
Forget it.
You know, what are you grabbing anyway? Oh,
I'm grabbing our Moose Eye Media hat with our moose on it. In fact, here's our little moose emblem, which is kind of fun. We have some more gear that's coming up this week. We had to send some of our gear back because it sucked, and we just can't do that to our fans. So we have new hats. We have a couple new T-shirts that are coming up this week for all the road warriors.
And our merchandise is good stuff. We're not putting junk out there. We got it, and then we sent it back because it just wasn't cool enough. Because we're cool, and we want it to be cooler than us.
Yeah,
so
check it out on our website. It's frisky-biscuit.com. Put
Please
the dash in between. It's pretty cool.
All right, you have some interesting facts and stuff about the motorcycle business. We're going to kind of feature motorcycles today since they're our new road warrior people, and we welcome a lot of the motorcyclists to us. We're going to have some new interviews with some motorcyclists, not only truckers and motorhome RVers, and anybody else out there who's even commuting is welcome to chime in. If you would like to be interviewed by us and be on the podcast, please contact us. And you can do that simply by texting me at 707-479-7404. And there's a couple of other ways you can probably get a hold of us too.
Yeah, you can get together with us on our YouTube channel, Frisky Biscuit. You can email us even at friskybiscuitpodcast.com. Or the best way really is our website, frisky-biscuit.com. So to continue on with our motorcycles, motorcycles started in the 1800s and they really became more of a commercial. The very first one put together for commercial was in 1884. However, it really didn't take on until after World War I. And you remember all our age anyway. I know some of the young people.
Extremely young.
Yeah. During World War I and afterwards, you had the three-wheelers. Remember that?
Oh,
they had the little hats on, the little helmets on.
The three-wheelers are pretty cool. Police departments used them. Some of the traffic control people used them. The delivery services used them. And Harley had that three-wheeler. That was one of the first things they did was commercialize motorcycles by giving them to police departments.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
God, they look fun. I'd love to ride in one of those little sidecars. And Harley Davidson, their mascot was Hog. And that came about because they actually had a little pig that when they went to competitions and they won, one of the riders would take this little pig and put it on his gas can and run around the track with it. And it became known as the Hog. And that's how it all came about. And
the nasty rumor out there is the reason they call it Hog is because everybody rides a Harley's fat, which is not really true.
No, the ones we've met so far aren't at all that quite good shape. And that Hog on the when you trade, what is it? When you trade money anyway, that's their logo is the Hog.
Oh, you're talking about
in the stock exchange.
Oh, the stock exchange. Yeah, it's Hog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just getting going here. I've had a cup of coffee, yet it don't.
I'm worried about you today because you're just not flowing, and you're not using your radio voice like you did last time.
Oh, I gotta get low.
However, I did notice a new addition to our opening. Did you hear Lisa's jingle?
And Lisa.
Yeah, she sings that live, and I was going to have a fancy one made for her, but she actually did.
I am the fancy one.
All right, what else you got?
Well, the first Harley Davidson, when it was built, it only went 25 miles an hour.
That's not very fast
and
compared to what they do now.
Tomato can as a carburetor. Do you remember that?
I remember they had this bike that it sounded like a John Deere tractor, and the thing just pop, 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 and had one cylinder, and everybody used to call it the tractor bikes, and then a lot of people make fun of Harley Davidson now because they say they're old tractor motors, but they're pretty cool motors now. They're big V twins. So.
I know the BMW dealers, and they kind of make fun of the Harleys. But I tell you what,
great rival.
Yeah, and just to sit on one. I mean, I didn't realize because I'm not a Harley or a motorcycle driver or rider, I guess.
Like I say, you can't tell by wearing the stuff.
No, it's so cool.
She's what they call in the Harley business a poser.
Yes, I admit it. I definitely admit it. And one thing I love about you guys, you're definitely so fuel efficient. I mean, you go twice as far as any truck or car does. So I bet you're just laughing it up with this new economy that we're in.
With the gas? Yeah.
They go 106 miles. The longest one went 106 miles on a tank of gas. And the longest distance by Guinness Book of World Records, this is really cool. Back in, 2014 in South Africa, they did the longest 24 hours. And guess how many miles they did in 24 hours? 2,018. And I did the math. I'm a math girl. I averaged it out at 84 miles an hour. That's average. So they went 100, 150.
I can't imagine that. When I was riding the bikes, I thought, like I said, 500 miles was badass. And then this Doc Johnson we're going to be talking to today, he easily does 1,000 miles a day. And I looked at this guy going, how the hell do you stay on that thing that long without getting a sore rear,
And he's gone 700,000 miles.
He's
His
driven
goal is
700. Yeah, he's gone to the moon 3 times.
How fast,
on a motorcycle.
How fast have you gone on a motorcycle?
Well, I've gone over 100 miles an hour on a motorcycle, but for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
usually with the Harleys, the big bikes, well, any of them, you can cruise 80 miles an hour pretty easy. And people think that's real dangerous. They think it's something that you don't want to do, but actually they're real stable and very controllable at that speed. The only problem is hitting a little rock or not even stopping. They stop pretty good, but it's drivers on the road, other people.
Oh.
Yeah, you got to be really careful of that. And any bike rider out there knows that, they call them cage riders. And these guys, they don't see you because you're smaller. So you got to be careful of that.
And no wonder they love the windy mountain roads. There aren't as many cars,
Yeah.
and you can kind of go and calibrate the curves.
Right.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, Yamaha's doing something new in the industry. They're developing power steering for motorcycles.
That sounds ridiculous to me.
I know. It actually...
I don't understand why you would really require power steering on a motorcycle. I can understand dampening maybe, but not automatic steering, because that's the whole thing of riding a bike is the steering and the balance and the leaning into a corner. A lot of people think you drive around a corner, you turn your handlebars into it, but you just kind of lean into it, into the direction, and look where you want to go, and this bike just kind of magically goes there. So power steering on a bike doesn't make sense to me.
Well, you said it's kind of an active damper system, and it has some AI in it too. They're doing in the All Japan Motocross Champions right now. They're testing these out, and Yamaha's getting into it. Bosch is getting into it. So I guess it's kind of the cutting edge. I'm sure it has a little AI in it as well.
I think they're putting AI in everything now. That's the new cool thing, AI.
Yeah. So
I could use a little AI right now. I keep things rolling here, and I'm having a hard time with my AI.
2 vowels. You just need 2 vowels, the A and the I.
Exactly.
And, motorcycles have been around so long, but they do get stolen, especially in the inner cities. What's really cool, though, is they don't steal Harleys. They're just too big. And their system just doesn't allow people to steal them, so they steal the Hondas. So if you have a Honda and you're in the inner cities, 1 in 5 of them are stolen.
So what you're saying is a Harley Davidson isn't stolen as much as a Honda.
No, because they're so big. I suppose their components and their locking system is much higher in technology, too.
Very much so. And the thing about a Harley is a lot of people don't realize there's not 2 of them that are exactly the same. They come out of the factory as a stock bike, but people personalize Harleys like they kind of do Jeeps. And so if you steal one of the Harleys, it's easy for a guy just to spot it out there because, hey, that's my bike because I got this thing on it. And so that probably could be one of the reasons that people don't steal them as much, because they're not kind of cookie cutter like some motorcycles are.
And most people that buy a bike, they customize it, right? They just don't bring a stock bike.
Well, with a Harley, they do. They customize. Most everybody customizes it in some way. So
Is it like what? The seats, the handlebars?
yeah, the seats, the handlebars, a lot of chrome. There's a lot of. If you go into a Harley store, you're going to see a lot of chrome trim and things like this. Little modifications you can do to it. Where other motorcycles are kind of built a certain way, and there's just not a lot of things you can add on to them, other than maybe a bag or a windshield. But Harley's got thousands of custom parts to make every one of them a little bit different. So that's what's kind of cool about it, and I think that's why people like Harley, is because it's so personalized. You can make a statement with your bike.
No,
I certainly did.
you did.
Yes.
And when you rode, did you ever do any wheelies?
No, I didn't do wheelies, but I had a guy do one on my bike, and it about terrified me that it would do it. I didn't
The
realize
longest wheelie was 145 miles.
145 miles long?
Yeah.
A wheelie.
Yeah. How do you do that?
I don't.
I can't even imagine a mile. I'm wondering if I got that stat right.
That's a major ride for me, 145 miles. I can't imagine holding the bike on one wheel that long.
No, I'll have to look that one up. That seems long. Yet it's only on one wheel, right?
A wheelie, yeah, back, way back there. And it doesn't sound real safe to me. Of course, it'd be an easy way to get attention.
Can you imagine?
Go passing a car, wave at them as you go by on your one bike
Bunch
or your
of
one wheel.
wheelies coming through your town, and they're just riding on their back
Exactly.
tire.
Exactly.
I suppose RVers don't do that.
Wheelies? Are you all right today?
No, I'm not. I suppose that second cup of
You
coffee
got to go get a cup of coffee.
required.
You are lagging today. I don't know what there is. You just look like you're ripping and raring to go, but you're just looking at me like, please carry this because I don't know what to say now.
Oh, no, I can talk. The words are getting all jumbled. They're not coming out in the right order here. Maybe we ought to go to our guy.
Oh, you're looking for an escape route to go get a cup of coffee, huh?
Yes, I am.
Well, tell us a little bit about this interview you had with Doc Johnson.
Oh, Doc Johnson. He is a physician, actually. And what's interesting about physicians, they generally always have something else that they're great at. They're either musicians, a lot of them are riders, a lot of them love their Harleys, they love their bikes because they get out of the office, they get out of the tension, and they can just go. And so we went over to his house. He invited us over and looked at his collection. He has quite a collection, and he has his original motorcycles, which is cool. A lot of people upgrade and turn them in, and not Doc. He kept them. So we got to see him. We got to see what he's done. He's
a very cool guy. And also his house, if you watch the video version of our podcast, if I can be so lucky to get one up this week, you'll be able to see a lot of these things we're talking about in the interview in his house. But he's got features built into his house that have the Harley-Davidson signature and stained glass, and it's just very cool. And the guy himself is just very humble. He's a sweet human being. He's a person who would probably give you the shirt off his back, but he is an adventurist, a true adventurist with motorcycles. And he is a guy that is fun to talk to. He's got a million stories. He's been around the world on motorcycles, and he said, he lives here in Twin Falls, Idaho. That's where we're located as well. But he drove his little motorcycle, it was a little Harley at that time, and we have a picture of it on the video. But he was going to medical school, I think he said in Illinois,
I believe
or Indiana, somewhere like that. He'll say it on the video and on the interview, but he rode that to school from here in Idaho, which is, over a couple thousand, not a couple thousand, but probably 1,800 miles.
What a great memory to have that.
As he's doing medical school, and he takes the bike everywhere rather than a car. And so he's a cool guy. We're going to talk to him right now, let you hear this beautiful interview with him, and we so appreciate the opportunity to talk to Dr. Johnson.
Welcome to Frisky Biscuit Podcast. Today we are interviewing a road warrior. Tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Cole Johnson. I actually grew up in the Valley. I was born in the hospital in Jerome, which tells you how the hospital's as old as I am, or if not a little older. And I spent almost all my time here. I've moved around a little bit for school, and but when I got done with the last go-around I had in school when I was actually in my 40s, I came back. I came back on purpose, and I'm a family physician here in Twin Falls, opened my own practice, and actually my practice will have been opened 20 years on May 15th this year. So
congratulations.
Yeah. So,
and you have a total of 7 Harleys.
I have 6 Harleys and 1 Indian.
Nice. Like cowboys and Indians.
Yeah, exactly.
And when did you get your first bike?
I was 22 years old when I bought my first Harley Davidson, which was a 76 Sportster. It was I can remember how much I paid for it. I paid $2,600 for it, brand new. And the 77s were out, and this was sitting on the floor, and it was like about $500 cheaper than the 77s. I mean the 77s, because it's 76. And so I saved $500 and bought a bike that they hadn't sold. So yeah.
Well, I'm not a biker. What's the magic? What's the drive? There's so many people that love their bikes. What is it?
I think it's individual. I think it depends on the person. I mean, I really started out probably like a lot of people did in my age range, and whether you like it or don't like it, it probably to a certain extent tied into Peter Fonda and Easy Riders.
Oh, right.
And then there was a television show at one time called Then Came Bronson. And it lasted for about 1.5 years, and it was about a guy on a Sportster who rode from one location to another and had some type of an event or adventure, and then he'd move on to the next spot. And that probably piqued my interest to a certain extent. But I had a little Honda when I was 15 and rode that until I got rid of it and bought the Harley Davidson. I think like anybody, you get tied into a type of activity, and for me, there's a challenge, I think, to riding the motorcycles. There's a challenge. There's a certain amount of I'm not sure, so I'm stumbling like probably a lot of people do. I don't want to say, you say freedom, but I think it's more than freedom. So for me, it's when you get on the bike and the sun's shining and you can hear the motor run, and you're headed down the road, and you get to see everything that's around you. And for me, you feel the changes in the temperature. So you go through a little draw, and there's a little bit of an inversion, and the temperature drops 5 to 7 degrees, and you can feel that. And then the sun's up, and you can feel that, and you smell what's on the road. You smell what's around you.
So it heightens your senses.
Yeah,
when you're out there.
there's a sensory stimulation that comes with it. The adventure's there for you, and for me the adventure is the bike and riding somewhere unique and being able to do it. There's a certain amount of skill, I think, that comes with it. And then the other. This is the Tail of the Dragon. I've ridden the Tail of the Dragon.
You have?
3 times.
Oh, we were just talking about
that. Yeah, 3 times. Been on 3 times, 3 different times. This was a didgeridoo band in Australia. And then the other thing for me, which probably tied in when I started riding with a group of friends, is the camaraderie that comes with it and the opportunity that we have to enjoy each other's company. And that includes a daughter who's ridden with me, and the fact that for us that was our thing, and she still talks about it.
So you've gone to all 50 states. You've gone to other countries.
I've gone to all 50 states. I've gone to all the Canadian territories and provinces.
Oh wow!
I've ridden in Africa and Europe as well. And that's part of the adventure for me is taking trips outside the area as well. So, and that to me is enjoyable. So.
Well, and it looks like, thank you again for showing us your beautiful house and what you've done with all the Harley Davidson information and mobilia that you've collected over time. And it sounds like, is there anywhere that you just have a burning desire that you haven't gone yet?
Well, my goal would be to ride in every continent. And I haven't been able to do that. I'm not sure I care where I go, as long as I get there. So, and that's going to take a little more time, if it's possible. COVID really plays a role here. World politics play a role,
yes.
Like it or don't like it.
Yes.
So the dream is still there, and I'm not going to give up on the dream, but it may take a little more time than I anticipated. So, but as far as specific location, I'd go back to Australia in a heartbeat. I had a ball in Australia. Aussies love Americans. It was a great trip. Most of the time we were in the outback, which is unique in its own right, and I would do that again. We missed our goal in Australia. We were going to ride from the east coast to the west coast. We got within 400 miles of Perth, and because we'd had some problems with the bikes and things like that, we had to turn around and come back.
Oh.
I would still go back and do that.
Nice.
I'd take another trip to Australia in a heartbeat. Europe was fun. I have places in the U.S. I've been to Key West 3 times. I'd go back to Key West, not during the weekend, because it was a disaster.
Do you see any changes? You've been in this, had a bike for so long. Do you see any changes that are happening that are pretty vibrant, that are happening within the biking industry or within Harley
Oh, I
Davidson?
think, yeah. So when you look back and you start out on a 79 lowrider that rattles and shakes and is not as reliable as you would hope. When the motor company changed hands in '85 and Wheelie G and the group of 5 or 4 or 5, I don't remember how many there were, took over, and they had a new motor in place already. I think that changed it dramatically. That's number one. Number two is the quality of the bike and the durability for me is a big deal. And then I think Harley Davidson has really done some nice things with their new adventure bike. If you look at the critiques on that new adventure bike, it is a top of the line motorcycle. Something I look at. I'm old enough that I'm still basically on pavement, but that new adventure bike and then that motor, they're putting it into a sport bike that I think will make a big difference. So quality of the machines, technology has come the same way with cars. You know, the bikes are Bluetoothed. the music systems in the bike, the communication systems in the bike, headless, cordless headsets, all those kinds of things play a huge role, and it's much more comfortable. The bikes are more comfortable, they're more durable, they're easier to communicate with people, one bike to the next. All those things play a role. It makes the whole process more comfortable. The braking systems are better. The bikes, from a safety point of view, the bikes are much more safe. But yet you still have the smell when you're on the road, and you still have the sun hitting you in the face, and you still have the breeze and all the things that come with it. So the technology is advanced. The reason that you do it is still there.
And all the comforts.
And and the comfort's a little better.
So my last question for you is, for the young people that are out there that want to buy a bike, be a Harley rider, what from your experience would you give any knowledge? What would you like to pass on to them? Or in general, it can be your medical career too. Like,
you want me to give advice on a medical career?
Well, advice to the young people.
So one of the things I think people need to do, I think a lot of people buy a bike and then either they're afraid of it or they don't learn how to enjoy the machine or use the machine. So you see a lot of used bikes on the road or for sale, and they're like 3 or 4 years old and they got 3,000 miles on them. Their organizations, including, and Harley Davidson did a really nice job with this, their Harley Owners Group program is a good program. Now, a lot of the people that are gray-haired in there, just like I am, but the bottom line is if you're new and you want to ride with a group and you want to learn how to ride with a group and you want to learn how to ride miles, you can almost tie in with anybody in one of those groups. There are other organizations that do the same thing. I know Brothers in Christ do the same thing. There are other organizations out there that are much similar. What I would say is don't buy the bike and isolate yourself. Find somebody that you're compatible with and ride with them and get the comfort and the knowledge that a more experienced person has, and then enjoy the machine. And you can, but it's sometimes it's hard initially starting out is just get on it and go, well, what am I going to do and where am I going to go? There's always somebody through the dealerships or that kind of thing that will point you in the right direction to allow you to enjoy your machine and enjoy some of the people who have done it for a long period of time. And there's buy a bike you're comfortable with, and then ride it. And if it works for you, great. If you need to upgrade, there's always an upgrade available. But yeah, we try, as part of the Harley Owners Group here, we try to create a situation where if people buy a bike and they want to ride with somebody, we have a list of people that they can do that with. You go, call this person, they'll ride with you in the afternoon after work for 60 or 70 miles, get the feel of your machine, do that several times, and you'll get comfortable.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on as our Road Warrior of the Week and Frisky Biscuit Podcast.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate it.
So I've ridden about 700,000 miles now.
Oh my gosh. And you're not stopping anytime soon.
My goal would be 1 million. I would like to get 1 million miles. I don't know that I'm young enough to do that, but I'm going to try.
Okay, well, we'll be rooting for you. Thank you.
Yeah, nope, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
And thank you, Doc, for letting us talk to you and meet you and share some of your experiences. So.
One of the things that he talked about, not on the video, but what he talked about to us, is a lot of these trips that he took overseas, where you fly over, they have a bike ready for you. You usually go with a group of people, and they take you through their country or through the countryside, and you do it for X amount of time. It can be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on just like a regular tour. I had no idea that they did that in the motorcycle industry, that you can go all over the world. And if you're by yourself and you want other people to be around. And the other thing I realized through talking to the store was how many women are getting into buying bikes. They're the most of the bikes that are sold today. The ones that are increasing are the women that are getting out there, and just, especially the middle-aged women. Hey, let's go. Let's get on the bike and let's go.
Women seem to be one of the biggest new markets for not only motorcycles but airplanes, airplane pilots. A lot of new airplanes are sold to women now, And then also truck drivers. We're seeing a lot more women truck drivers. In fact, if you're a woman truck driver out there, we would love to have an opportunity to interview you. And again, I'm going to put that number up there, 707-479-7404. That's how you talk to us, and it's a text number, so please do not.
Or you can reach us through our email address,
Yes.
Frisky Biscuit Podcast @gmail.com. You can reach us through our website too, frisky-biscuit.com. And on our website, we have all our paraphernalia, our hats.
Why don't you show some of that right now?
Well, here's one of our shirts that you saw us wear a couple of weeks ago.
Couldn't see it. You got to get it in the camera.
Okay, well, let's bring it up here. And we have some new items that are coming up. However, we had to ditch the old items. They just sucked, and it was just like, we can't do that to you guys. They have to be top notch. So frisky-biscuit.com.
Because we're top notch.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So it's that time. It's that time for our commercial.
Musai.
And now here is Lisa to talk about Musai Grantology.
Well, grant writers, what do? We write a specific style for nonprofits. We work together with the nonprofits. It's not just us writing. We gather all the data from you. We dig deep. And then we find an organization, or maybe you've already found the organization, and we partner up with the grantor that's given the money and you that's requiring funding for your mission. And we sit down and we write a narrative to the grantor saying, this is a good combination. What's interesting about our field is technology really hasn't changed it that much. Yes, the way we upload our wording is one way that has changed a little bit, but not really. All the grants require a body, a person to get in there and write a persuasive narrative and show why their mission is so important to these grantors that are funding it. So that's what I do. And if I can help you, go to my website, musaigrantology.com, write me a quick note, and I'm happy to help you. I'm also really happy just to answer questions for you as well, and to look at your organization if you're not getting grants or your grants are getting turned down. You can contact me, and I'm happy to help you. musaigrantology.com.
Very good. Sounds good. And by the way, just a little footnote, she does work her butt off to help you, if you have a nonprofit, get that funding in there. Now, I have an interesting observation. I noticed when Doc Johnson was doing the interview with you, you ended up coming back with something that I thought was quite interesting.
Another cup of coffee in my moose cup to inspire me. And I also have a moose sticker. So eventually we'll get these on some T-shirts and some hats for you because it's the coolest. I just love my moose.
Yes, I'm going to be looking for shifts and changes in your energy level now as we're almost finished with the podcast.
Yeah.
This is not a goal that we're after here. We're supposed to be just savoring every moment of this with our viewers and listeners.
Oh, we do. We do. We love all of you guys. We love the truckers, which is kind of the unsung heroes, and also the RVers, which we're a part of. And we have a little bit of news in the RV industry, and maybe we ought to talk about that.
Let's hang on to that for just a second. I just thought of something, but before we forget to tell, let's give them a little preview of some of the people we're going to be bringing on with us, because we got some pretty interesting, interviews coming up that are for all of you that I think you're going to find quite interesting. So why don't you just give a little quick count of that?
Sure. Speaking in the RV industry, we have Dean Corrigal, who is the marketing director for Leisure Travel Vans. We actually interviewed him on another podcast about 2 years ago, right before the pandemic started and things went a little crazy. So he's coming on to tell us some of the latest and greatest in the RV industry. And we're going to get a little more personal with him so we can get to know Dean a little bit more. We also are interviewing our first food truck, Porked Out, which is here in Twin. They also do a lot around Idaho. So those of you that eat out of food trucks, yet not necessarily know all the ins and outs, we're going to get into the gravy of food trucks. And then we have Robert Morales. He was one of the very first YouTubers that traveled around in his RV. He's of Cuban descent and an incredible musician. If you haven't heard his music before, well worth it. So he'll be coming on. And then we also have another motorcycle couple that will be joining us in the next couple of weeks. So our Road Warrior program, which here's our sticker that you can put on your car.
Remember where the camera is.
I love our stickers. I can't wait to the first time we're driving around and we see those truckers and RVers with the sticker on. So we have a lot of interviews coming up and a lot more in the hopper that we would like to interview as well.
Very, very well. You know, the Doc Johnson was talking about being in Australia, and he had this didgeridoo band. Mm-hmm. And this is completely off. We hadn't talked about this, but we have a friend that is probably one of the hottest didgeridoo players in the world, and his name's Andy Graham. And I know they may watch this podcast. I would love to interview him. I would love to have some of his music so we could play it as background music sometimes or theme music. But Andy Graham, if you ever if you like didgeridoo, which is kind of a strange thing to catch on to because not a lot of people can play them, this guy is the most rockin' dude I've ever seen on one of these things. You cannot sit still.
Well, and with his didgeridoo, he does some other type of drumming and other background music that's incredible to listen to, especially when you drive. So
it's just
Robert
a lot of
Morales and him, we'll get some music on here for you because Road Warriors, we love our music.
So Andy, if you hear this, get a hold of us. We would like to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, now back to your RV incidentals that you had.
Okay, well, the biggest one is Amazon is about to become a giant headache for possibly the RV manufacturers that are in Elkhart, Indiana. This is the largest manufacturing hub in the United States, and I realize the reason is because of its location. They can manufacture the RVs and get them out to the rest of the United States in a very convenient way. Well, Amazon jumped on that. They're building their own distribution center right in the heart of Elkhart. Now, 8% of the people that work in manufacturing, that's the average around the United States. Well, in Elkhart, there's 52,000 people that live there, and over 50% of them work in the manufacturing industry. So I think Amazon's counting on bridging some of those employees over to their distribution center. However, I think one of the things that Amazon's going to have a challenge with is that they only pay on average $18 an hour, and the RV industry is more skilled labor in general. So there could be a challenge there unless something happens in the RV industry where it starts to shut down, which we're not seeing that in the statistics. Of course, petrol and gas is causing a little bit of a problem, but in general, it's not. So this is kind of big news. So we'll see what happens next year when it opens. Or I think it's at the end of this year that Amazon's open.
You know, Amazon seems to be taking over the world in a little town like that. That's a big impact, especially on the workers. So we wish them the best and understand progress. And Amazon is a great company. What they've done with that is pretty interesting. It's infrastructure built the way it works is kind of amazing. But Elkhart is a wonderful place, and we're kind of warm to it because we're in the RV business ourselves, just kind of enjoying the sport, as you might say. So,
well, and if you're a laborer, it may be a good time to move to Elkhart. There'll be lots of jobs for you wherever
that's a
you
good
decide
point.
to turn.
That's a good point. Exactly.
Well, let's go over some really fun facts, too, in the RV industry. Did you know that a family of 4 that travels, and a lot of people travel with their children, they'll save between 23 and 59% on their vacation cost by traveling in an RV. Now, I don't necessarily mean renting it. Generally, they'll buy their pop-up camper or a towable or an RV. 40% of them that travel in the RV industry as a whole have children at home that are the age of 18 or younger. And 54% of people that travel in the RV motorhome industry travel with their pets, which that's a whole nother gamut of traveling with your pets. You have to continually think about where you're going to stop.
Well, I've been talking to you about a pet, like a weenie dog.
I know, he
You know,
so wants
just
a
let it
weenie dog.
Put it on the dash and just let it talk to you as you drive along.
They're just really wrong. Their feet are so short. It's just, to look at them, they just seem wrong. What do you guys think? Do you have weenie dogs?
Well, I like weenie dogs because they're built a lot like I am.
Oh, and you're adorable.
Yeah.
So.
That was a cheap solicitation right there.
Yes. Hey, and it's April, so what month do you think is the most popular month to travel? My thought was June, July, August, September, but it's not. It's April. And I thought about it, I was like, April, that's a weird time that most people travel.
That doesn't even make sense. April. Here in Idaho, in fact, just about everywhere right now, we still got a lot of winter going on.
I know.
So, you know.
However, I started thinking about all the Canadians that used to travel before COVID. They would go home right after Easter. That was the time that they departed and went home. People have spring breaks that are later, so that's another group of people that travel. And then you have all the people that are snowbirds in general in the United States that love, like, there's a lot of people in Idaho that are farmers that get out of here for a couple of months, and they generally come back right before Easter. So that all happens around April.
Right.
So if your RV is in mothballs, I would suggest get out there. We've been talking about that the last couple of weeks, is go. Get out there. Go. It's so beautiful.
Check your tires.
Yeah, that's a
make sure
big
you
thing.
check your tires. That's the big one for every motorcycles, trucks, RVs, cars. Those tires are one of the most overlooked things, and that's where more wrecks start right there. So make sure you got good rubber underneath that rig if you're going to get out there on the road.
Yeah, and go out to the national parks is where most people tend to go. Yellowstone is the most traveled park in the United States. Make your reservations, of course, early. Yet there's all kinds of state parks. There's boondocking sites. There's BLM land. There's county parks. There's your friend's driveway that lives in another state. So there's no excuse if you're in mothballs to not get out there and go.
There's probably more of that going on right now, and people want. Right?
That's right. And your friends may not want you.
Well, anyway, that's, life as it goes in the fast lane, correct?
I know. Or, you could join one of those RV camping clubs. They started back in the 1930s, and find a group of people that you resonate with. One of the ones we went to, it was kind of trippy to wake up and see 50 of the same vans that look just like your vans when you wake up.
I'd say more like Twilight Zone-y.
It was weird.
The particular rig we drive is kind of a unicorn out there. You don't see a lot of them because they don't make a lot of them. And, man, we woke up in the morning, there's like 50 of them sitting out there, looked just like ours. It was so strange. We'd never seen that before.
It was fun, though, to talk about all the things that we loved, or maybe some challenges, or many challenges, about our van with other people that own the same van. And there's cooking clubs. There's clubs that love to go four-wheel driving. There's motorcycle clubs even, people that go out and travel and bring their motorcycle with them. So if you want, go find a club that you're interested in and join them. Just get out there.
Totally. Get out there, enjoy America. Beautiful place, and it's a lot different seeing it in person than it is seeing it in pictures. I remember the first time I saw Mount Rushmore. Man, it took your breath away. You see it in pictures, but you go see it, the real thing sitting right over there. It gets to your heart, and especially if you love this country like we do. So you can contact us pretty easily, and we want to hear from you. We want your feedback too. We're screwing up
Only
here a
good
lot,
ones.
and pardon me.
Only good ones.
Only yeah, be gentle with us. But we're enjoying doing this for you, and those of you who have chimed into us, we appreciate your feedback, and we'll invite more of it. So this is Frisky Biscuit at frisky-biscuit.com. And you can reach us. We have a donation page if you want to buy us a cup of coffee. And we also have merchandise available. Prop person, wake up, pick up the merchandise.
Oh, yes. There's
Camera.
our t-shirt again.
Yeah, and we have hats.
Our moose
And
eye,
we have,
and we're getting some new hats coming in this coming week and some new t-shirts coming in this week. So check it out, frisky-biscuit.com.
you almost couldn't see.
I know. I have to wear my moose ears, though, for the end of this podcast.
Here, have another
because
cup
it is Easter.
Have another cup of
So
coffee. Yeah.
Here's to you, Easter bunnies. from the moose.
Until next time, we just have fun here, so let us, and we want you to join us. So this is Frisky Biscuit, and we will be back next week. Until then, you take care of yourself. We love all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.